So far 12 of the 46 girls are in Naruto's harem. They would be Emi, Kotohime Fuma, Sasama Fuma, Gurin, Isaribi, 5th Mizukage Rose Rin, Tayuya, 2, Kinsuchi, Kyuubi and Haku. He's met others like Fu and Toki, but they haven't gotten to that point in their relationship yet. When Naruto left the capital, he summoned a dragon and phoenix. He then created 2 shadow clones and sent one with the phoenix to collect his monthly information from the Fuma clan. Since he sent the Sound 4 and the 3 genin back to Oto, they have been able to get information to them. They've reported lately that Orochimaru has been gathering a lot more nins recently. He looked at his other clone. Head to Kiri and inform Zabuza and the others it's time for them to leave. From the rumors I heard while in the capital, Wave country has been taken over by a tyrant by the name of Gato. Have them scout the country, then when the opportunity rises infiltrate his operations as missing nins. The clone nodded and flew off on the dragon to deliver its orders. Back in Konoha, the Hokage was a wreck. Tomorrow's the day of the graduation and he hasn't returned yet, he thought looking out his window. It's already been 9 years since he's been gone. Kakashi and the others took it hard when they learned he left. They all wanted to go out and look for him, but I couldn't allow that. I could only tell them to trust him when he said he'd return. He looked at his village and sighed. The villagers were ecstatic when they found out Naruto left. I had to order some to their death as they broke the law. But since then I've noticed the sun doesn't seem to shine as much since he left. In fact, the weather hasn't been this good since he left. I can only hope it's a sign of his return. He was broken from his thoughts when his secretary came in carrying another stack of papers. He grumbled and went back to work, unaware of how soon his hopes would come true. It was morning and a figure standing tall at 5 feet 9 inches was walking towards Konoha. He had blue eyes and blonde spiky hair that reached the bottom of his neck with his bangs covering his forehead. He had a face that belonged to royalty with no baby fat and 3 whisker-like mark lines on each cheek. One could tell he had a body women would love to touch and men would love to have. He was wearing black steel-toed boots, black Anbu pants, a long dark blue-sleeved shirt and a customized flak jacket that had many more pockets than the usual flak jacket. On his left thigh he had his weapons holster containing his shuriken and kunai. Over that he was wearing a white cloak that had a picture of a storm with winds creating waves and whirlpools on the back with red-orange flames on the bottom of the cloak. He had his kodachis strapped to his lower back that were hidden behind the cloak. He could see the gates up ahead and thought, "I'm back." He decided to have a little fun, and out of sight from the guards at the gate and the Anbu close by he used a Kaminari Shunshin no Jutsu, lightning body flicker technique, and appeared in the Hokage's office. The Sandaime was going through paperwork when he sensed someone coming. He was shocked, as were the Anbu in the room, when a bolt of lightning appeared and a man was standing there. They were even more shocked at his appearance. Minato, Hiruzen thought. Naruto was holding in his laughter at his Gigi's face. He grinned and said, "I promised that I'd return, didn't I, Gigi?" Sarutobi was broken from his thoughts and stuttered, "And Naruto, is that you? The one and only? If you don't mind, could you ask the Anbu in the room to leave and not to mention my return?" Naruto asked. Sarutobi could only nod and motioned with his hands, and they both felt the Anbu leave. Sarutobi was about to say something when he saw Naruto go through some hand seals and placed a privacy jutsu up. "So how you been?" Naruto asked with a grin on his face. "I should be asking you that, Naruto-kun. I see you've gotten stronger over the years. May I ask how you chose to wear those types of clothing?" Sarutobi questioned. Naruto sighed and looked his Gigi in the eyes in the face and said, "I know everything, Gigi. I've known since my 5th birthday. The truth about Kyuubi and why she attacked, and about my parents, Namikaze Minato and Namikaze Uzumaki Kushina." Sarutobi felt like he had a stroke. How? He asked. "After the attack I appeared in my mindscape where the seal is. I met Kyuubi and she explained why she attacked. I also met my parents there along with the Shinigami. Apparently after Otu-san died, the Shinigami told him why Kyuubi attacked. Otu-san asked when I would first meet Kyuubi that the Shinigami would take him there so we could meet. He also took my Okawa-san as well, as he felt that with how my life had been so far I deserved to see both of my parents." Naruto explained. Sarutobi was gobsmacked at what Naruto said. I guess that would explain his disappearances during that year. He thought then realized what Naruto said and said, "She." Naruto chuckled and said, "Yes, Kyuubi is a female and the first love of my life." He felt Kyuubi give him a mental kiss that made him smile. "What?" was all Sarutobi could say. "Tell me, Gigi, what do you know of how the seal was supposed to work?" Naruto questioned. "Well, not much actually, only that it would slowly convert Kyuubi's chakra into yours and that it would allow Kyuubi's chakra to heal you," he replied. Naruto nodded at that and said, "That's only part of it. The seal originally would convert Kyuubi's chakra into my own as well as heal me until it would finish on my 25th birthday. Then Kyuubi could either go to the afterlife with Shinigami or she could be free of the seal and become human with cage-level strength. Now I say originally because of the attack on my 5th birthday Kyuubi couldn't get enough of her chakra through the seal to heal me and I was dying. In order to keep me alive the Shinigami altered the seal. The seal would finish on my 16th birthday instead of my 25th. Also, since I had more of Kyuubi's demonic chakra running through me, I developed a third bloodline." As he listened to his Magamusuko speak, he was able to remain calm until he heard the part third bloodline. "What does demonic chakra have to do with bloodlines?" he asked. Naruto smirked and said, "Well, I could tell you, but I think it'd be better if I showed you. I have created a technique that allows me to show my life from the point when Kyuubi was sealed into me to right before I execute the technique, thanks to mine and Kyuubi's photographic memory." He went through 15 hand seals and called out Ninpo, Mukanran Waza, ninja art, life viewing technique. Sarutobi watched Naruto's life from the moment Kyuubi was sealed into him to right before he started the jutsu. He saw when he denied Danzo making Naruto a weapon after he was born, to when he met Kyuubi where he had a major nosebleed and passed out, making Naruto pause the technique multiple times and threatened his Gigi he would tell his wife where he hid all his Ika and after that he managed to stay awake. He saw Naruto's parents again and smiled at the reunion. He barely managed to hold back a nosebleed when he heard how his third bloodline was passed down to his lovers. Sarutobi was astounded when it was all over. "Remarkable. To think he could beat me right now is amazing. Not to mention all those lovely girls of his." He let out a perverted giggle at that and stopped when he felt Naruto glaring at him. He coughed and said, "So what do you plan on doing now?" "I plan to take the test tomorrow and become a genin. As you saw, I have spies in various locations but kept their identities secret for personal and security reasons. Orochimaru has built his own village and has been gathering a lot more nin recently than usual. I can only assume he plans to attack Konoha during the Chunin exams later this year and I plan to be there to stop him and to reveal myself to the world. I already have the support of the daimyos of the 5 great shinobi countries and other countries as well," Naruto stated. Sarutobi nodded and took a long drag from his pipe. "I know you already have the teams set up and once they pass their test from their Junin sensei I'll let you know what I have planned as I know teamwork is important," Naruto said. Sarutobi nodded as he was thinking of where to place Naruto. He saw him grin and asked, "What is it?" Naruto chuckled and said, "As you know, right now I could kick your ass, but if you were back in your prime we'd be even. Well, over the years Q-chan has taught me many jutsu lost over the centuries. One happens to be one of the first attempts humans made at immortality, eternal youth. While it was effective as the target would become younger, it would slowly destroy the body of the user to the point if they use it too long they die. Also, the younger you make the person the more chakra it requires and you need at least mid-Junin level chakra control. Through more research they found out that for every 10 years off the target's life would require enough chakra of a cage. They also found out it was also a one-time per person jutsu. Now because of my healing abilities the damage to my body is negated and I am able to use this jutsu. Because of all this I have labeled it an S-ranked kinjutsu that will become a family technique as only my family would be able to use it and survive. So what do you say, Gigi? Would you and your wife like to become 40 again?" The professor, as one of the titles Sarutobi Hiruzen was known as, was drooling at the thought of being young again. After a few questions about the technique Sarutobi agreed to it. He stood in the middle of the room and watched as Naruto started going through hand seals that he could barely see thanks to his years of experience and sharp eyes. After Naruto landed on the 100th hand seal he called out Ninpo, Temu no Gyukuden, ninja art, reversal of time. Naruto went through about a sixth of his reserves as he watched his Gigi of 68 years old turn to a 40-year-old. The process lasted a minute, and when it was finished Naruto looked at the results. No longer was his hair white but brown again. His muscle mass returned and he filled out his robes more. As Naruto was looking over the results, Sarutobi was as well. His hands were no longer wrinkly as well as his face. He walked over to the bathroom in his office and looked in the mirror. He looked exactly like he did when he was 40. He walked back out and hugged this young man that he saw as his Magamusuko for the first time in over 9 years. They agreed to a fight in 1 month to let Sarutobi get readjusted to his body and to keep a genjutsu up for now. Naruto promised to come over to the Sarutobi estate in a few days for dinner and to see Sarutobi's wife and to make her younger as well. When they were done they noticed it was already 5 p.m. Naruto handed a piece of paper with names of people he wanted Sarutobi to summon in secret to his office to watch the tests. He agreed and Sarutobi gave him a piece of paper to give to the Ninja Academy instructor named Umino Iruka that would be giving him his test. Naruto gave one last hug and dropped the privacy jutsu before using a Mizu Shunshin no Jutsu to appear outside his clan home. Sarutobi watched him leave and thought, "You truly have become an amazing person, Naruto-kun." With that he took out his precious Ika. Naruto opened the gate to the Namikaze estates and with a quick Taju Kage Bunshin no Jutsu he ordered them to clean up the grounds and houses. While they did that Naruto entered the main house and headed up to the main bedroom. He unpacked his clothing and personal supplies. After that he headed to the clan library and after taking an hour to replace all the scrolls that he had taken and stored in the seal he took a shower and got dressed in black shinobi sandals, blue jeans and a white shirt. He picked up his scroll labeled, "Instruments," and headed out. He decided to have some dinner first and there was only one place he had in mind. As he walked through the streets he saw the looks of lust the women were giving him and the looks of jealousy the men were giving him. He also saw a lot of shocked faces on the older generation. Either they think I look like dad or they noticed the whisker marks or a combination of both, he thought. After a few more minutes he arrived. Ichiraku ramen, he thought and smiled. He walked in and sat at his old stool. He looked around and saw Ayame serving some ramen to a customer and Chuki in the back cooking. Chuki hadn't changed much. His hair had a few gray hairs in it but that was it. Ayame though became a real beauty. She still had her brown hair tied up and those brown eyes that seemed to sparkle. Her body had developed very nicely since the little 8-year-old girl when he left. Her body had curves in all the right places, nice large round and firm C-cup breasts, long legs, wide hips and a perfect ass that seemed to bounce as she walked. He smiled and called out, "I'd like 10 of each type of ramen." He saw Ayame freeze and turn around. He smiled at her and said, "It's been a while hasn't it Ayame-chan?" Ayame started to cry and she ran to him yelling, "Naruto-kun." Chuki ran out just in time to see his daughter hugging a young man with blonde hair and blue eyes. He wasn't positive until he saw the whisker marks which he noticed had faded. Naruto stood up when he saw Ayame come running. She leapt into his arms and he swung her around getting her to giggle. He settled down and sat in the stool with her in his lap. She was still crying and he placed his hand under her chin and raised her head to look her in the eye. "Shush, it's okay Ayame-chan. I promised I'd come back and I never break my promises." He rubbed her back with one hand and ran his other hand through her hair. She calmed down after a few minutes and after a kiss that was very close to her lips she blushed and got up. Chuki raised an eyebrow at the display of affection between the two. I wonder if this is why Ayame has declined every date she's been offered, he thought. He knew Ayame liked Naruto when they were younger and she was heartbroken when he left but he didn't think she liked him like that. Hee my little girl's in love, he thought with chuckle. Naruto stayed there until 8 p.m. They had closed early and Ayame had ended back on Naruto's lap and would sometimes feed him. Naruto told them the truth and showed them his life. Ayame was shocked that Naruto was the son of the Yondaime and a king but Chuki had a pretty good idea who Naruto's parents were with Minato and Kushina often coming here for ramen but the whole king thing was news to him. Ayame squealed and tackled Naruto to the ground in a passionate kiss when she found out about the CRA. Naruto stunned at first quickly got into it. They were both moaning and had their hands running over each other's body when a cough interrupted them. They both blushed as Chuki was looking at them. Before he left Naruto invited Ayame to come with him to the hot springs. With permission from her father, she took off her apron and looped her arm around Naruto and they headed off. They arrived and after he paid he gave Ayame another kiss that made her knees weak and they went to the separate baths. Naruto undressed and wrapped a towel around his waist. He placed a bit of his blood on the seal and unrolled his scroll, and after finding the instrument he wanted unsealed it, then rolled up the scroll again and placed it with his belongings. When Naruto walked into the hot springs he noticed he was the only male. He relaxed for a couple minutes before picking up his ocarina and started to play it. Even though he was the only male, Hirayame found out she wasn't the only female. 20 minutes before they appeared, a group of women arrived ranging from 17 years old to 36 years old at the hot springs. Each was a vision of beauty. They decided to do this as after tomorrow they'd have less time to see each other. This group consisted of Inuzuka Hana, Inuzuka Sume, Mitarashi Anko, Tsubaki, Uchiha Makoto, Azuki Yugao and Yuhi Kurenai. As they settled in they relaxed for a couple minutes before the lavender-haired, gray-eyed Anko spoke up. So tomorrow's the big day, huh? You think your boys will pass? The feral brown-haired with eyes brown in vertical slit-like pupils with the traditional fang-like tattoos of the Inuzuka clan on both of her cheeks in purple Sume spoke. Yeah, Kiba may be an idiot but he'll pass. Hana and the others laughed at that. They looked at the raven-haired, black-eyed Makoto who sighed, unfortunately I'm positive he'll pass. To be honest he's too unstable to be a shinobi, but that damn civilian council and elders have practically already made it official. After that night he's thought of nothing except revenge. The others looked at Makoto sadly. They each knew she was right, and with the majority of villagers kissing his ass and making his already huge ego bigger, it was only a matter of time until he completely loses it. Anko spoke again, trying to change the topic. So Yugao, you still together with Hayate? Yugao, with her purple hair, dark brown eyes and Anbu symbol on her upper right arm, shook her head. No, that ended a couple months ago. It just didn't feel right. Yugao looked at Kurenai. What about you, Kurenai? You and Asuma still going out? The raven-haired crimson-eye beauty shook her head as well. No, we broke up a few months ago as well. We decided to just stay as good friends. Hana, with her traditional fang-like tattoos of the Inuzuka clan on both of her cheeks in red, a tattoo on her upper right arm that resembles a flower and round soft eyes, looked over at Tsubaki. What about you and Mizuki? You two seem to be getting friendly. Tsubaki, with her raven-colored hair and black eyes, also shook her head. That didn't last very long. I just didn't feel very comfortable around him. It was like he was pretending to be someone he's not around me. They each sighed at the lack of a love life. Suddenly Sume spoke out. He'd be graduating tomorrow as well. They all knew who she was talking about. Each had a spot in their heart that belonged to the little boy and were sad to learn he left Konoha. The Hokage had told them that Naruto promised to return to take the graduation test with his age group. They were broken from their thoughts when they heard music coming from the male's side of the hot spring. Just as it started, Ayame walked in and joined them. They each recognized her as the waitress that worked with her father at the ramen stand that Naruto loved. She smiled and said, "Hello," to them. They smiled and said, "Hello," back. They each listened to the beautiful music coming from the other side of the fence. Anko, being the curious person she is, approached the fence and used her chakra to cut a small hole to look through. She looked around until she spotted the person. Damn, she thought. She could only see his upper chest, but what an upper chest it was. She started drooling, which the other girls noticed. If Anko was doing that, then a god among men must be on the other side. Hana, Sume, Makoto and Yugao each made their own hole. Kurenai couldn't believe how perverted her friends were. When the four made their holes, they each blushed and had a bit of drool coming from their mouths. When Makoto saw his face, she gasped. It couldn't be. Those eyes are the same ones from the person who saved me, she thought. Anko had dragged Kurenai over while Sume dragged Tsubaki and Hana dragged Ayame. Kurenai started protesting but stopped when she saw Naruto's body and started to blush and had a bit of blood running from her nose. Naruto had finished playing some songs and after an hour decided to leave. Each girl had a hole and had been watching him the entire time. When he got up and out of the hot spring, they blushed harder at seeing his ass, but when he turned around they had a clear view of his prized possession. So big, they each thought, amazed, and involuntarily let out a moan and a shiver. When he started drying himself off, they saw as he became hard and each were blown back with nosebleeds at the sight of his 8-inch long and 1.5-inch thick cock. Naruto knew that they were watching him the entire time and decided to have some fun, which is why he decided to give them the free show. He chuckled and raised his voice so they could hear. Well, I hope you girls enjoyed the entire show. I hope to meet the beautiful faces that belong to those lovely voices. I'll meet you outside Ayame-chan, and with that he got dressed and waited for Ayame. When the girls heard him they all blushed, then shot a look at Ayame that said, demanded, "Who the hell is that?" Ayame giggled and said, "That wonderful gift from Kami ladies was Uzumaki Naruto. He returned today, and to let you know, due to a certain law he is allowed to marry multiple women in Konoha alone, and because a special ability of his age doesn't matter to him." With that hint she left them with their stunned faces and got dressed and rejoined Naruto. She told him what she said, hoping he wouldn't be mad, and was rewarded with the most intense kiss she'd received yet. He picked her up, getting an "eep" from her and held her bridal style, and after a quick shunshin no jutsu appeared in her room. They lied in bed together and talked. She told him the names of each of the women that were at the hot springs when he asked. He waited until she fell asleep, and after a soft kiss he bid her good night and reappeared outside his estate. He let himself in and looked at the now clean again estate. He stripped down to his boxers and looked at the clock and noticed it was already 10 p.m. He yawned and thought, "Night koi." He received a night koishi in return. Naruto woke up at 5 a.m. and after getting dressed in training clothes he grabbed an apple and spent 2 hours training. He went back into the house, took a shower, got dressed in what he wore yesterday except his cloak, ate a real meal worthy of the black hole called his stomach, and when he finished he noticed it was 7:40. He put the dishes in the sink and left his compound. As he closed the gate behind him and locked it he used a Kori Shunshin no Jutsu, ice body flicker technique, where his body was covered in ice and shattered, then reformed on the head of his father on the Hokage monument and shattered again, revealing him. He looked down at the village for a few minutes, then used Konoha Shunshin no Jutsu, leaf body flicker technique, to make a quick stop at the Hokage tower, then on the roof of the academy. He slowly made his way down to the room where the test was. Iruka had just entered with his co-instructor Mizuki. He noticed almost everyone was here. He heard yelling coming from outside in the hall and he sighed, thinking, "Please Kami, let them pass so I don't have to deal with them." Just as he finished his thought, 2 young girls appeared when the door opened at the same time, resulting being wedged in the doorway. "Ha, take that Ino pig. I was first so I get to sit next to Sasuke-kun." Haruno Sakura said. She had bright pink hair that reached her mid-back and looked to have been well kept, green eyes and fair skin. She wore a red kippou dress with white circular designs and tight dark green shorts. "I was first forehead girl. I get to sit next to Sasuke-kun." Yamanaka Ino replied. She had blue eyes and long blonde hair in a ponytail with bangs covering the right side of her face. She wore a purple outfit that had bandages wrapped around her stomach. Iruka was about to lose it and yell at them until a voice reached everyone's ears. "Forgive me for intruding, but you can both sit next to him as there are open seats on both sides of him." Everyone looked behind the 2 girls and saw the person. He was standing tall at 5 feet 9 inches. He had blue eyes and blonde spiky hair that reached the bottom of his neck with his bangs covering his forehead. He had a face that belonged to royalty with no baby fat and 3 faded whisker-like mark lines on each cheek. He was wearing black steel-toed boots, black Anbu pants, a long dark blue-sleeved shirt and a customized flak jacket that had many more pockets than the usual flak jacket. On his left thigh he had his weapons holster containing his shuriken and kunai. He had 2 kodachis strapped to his lower back. "He's hotter than Sasuke-kun," all the girls thought. Naruto smiled at the 2 girls in front of him, making them blush. "Shall we enter and let the instructor get started?" he asked. They squeaked and ran into the room, taking a seat on either side of Sasuke, keeping quiet. Everyone watched him enter and Iruka spoke. "Can I help you?" Naruto reached into a pocket on his pants and pulled out a piece of paper. He handed it to Iruka, who read it and his eyes widened, which everyone noticed. "I see. Well, take a seat and we'll begin the tests. They consist of a written portion, accuracy portion and jutsu portion. Before you sit down, can you introduce yourself?" Naruto nodded and looked toward the students. "Hello. My name is Uzumaki Naruto. I have just returned to Konoha yesterday after traveling the world for 9 years. I hope to make Konoha proud and make friends with all of you. He finished and found a seat in the back and sat next to a boy who had his head lying on the desk. He had fairly long jet black hair tied in a spiky ponytail and narrow brown eyes. His attire was rather plain, wearing a short jacket and also translucent undershirt. Must be a Nara, he thought. Mizuki's eyes widened when he heard the name. The demon brat is back. Oh, this is perfect, he thought. Everyone watched him as he took a seat. They were all wondering why he got to come on the last day while they've been here for 7 years. Kiba was the one who voiced his complaints. What the hell? How come this nobody gets to come on the last day while we've been stuck here for 7 freaking years? Everybody started agreeing and Iruka raised his hand to silence them. The Hokage has personally given his permission for Naruto to take today's tests. He has judged his skills to be good enough to qualify to become a genin. Iruka and Mizuki started handing out papers. Mizuki came up the stairs Naruto did, and as Naruto watched he saw Mizuki place a genjutsu on his test. Well, I guess I know what he thinks of me, Naruto thought. As Mizuki turned around and started going back down the steps trying to hold in his smile, he froze when he heard Naruto talk. I'm honored that you think so highly of my skills already, Instructor-san. Mizuki turned around as Iruka and everyone else looked at Naruto. What do you mean? Mizuki asked. Well, the genjutsu you placed on my test to change the questions, of course. Since I can't detect any other genjutsu coming from the other tests in the room, I assumed you were giving me a challenge. Naruto replied with a smile. Mizuki started to sweat when Iruka said, Mizuki, is this true? Hee, yeah, you caught me. I wanted to see if what the Hokage said was true. Mizuki chuckled nervously. Iruka eyed him for a second and said, very well, but let me know if you plan of doing something creative like that in the future. Mizuki just smiled and continued down the steps. Damn, that was too close, he thought. Naruto dispelled the genjutsu and chuckled when he heard the Nara next to him say, Nara Shikamaru. What was that about? Oh, he just wanted to play a game and lost. Naruto replied. Shikamaru raised an eyebrow at the terminology but let it go. Naruto finished the test in 10 minutes. Geez, I seriously hope the rest of the tests are harder than this. I knew all this stuff when I was 6. He sighed and laid his head down on his arms. Shikamaru chuckled at the sight and followed 10 minutes later. Naruto scored the highest on the written exam with a perfect score of 10 out of 10. Shikamaru surprisingly put effort into it and aced it as well, Sakura getting a 9/10, Ino, Hinata, Shino all getting 8/10, Sasuke, a student by the name of Sai and Choji got 7/10 and Kiba got a 6/10. They followed Iruka and Mizuki out to the target dummies. Alright, now let's begin with the target practice. First up, Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto walked up and drew 8 kunai and 8 shuriken from his weapon holster. He looked on with a bored face and threw all of them together, and each kunai and shuriken hit one of the 8 vital organs. Iruka and everyone else were astounded, and Iruka spoke, Seikon, congratulations. A 10 out of 10. Sasuke went up next with an angry look on his face. He got a 9/10 and he only got angrier. Hinata, Sai and Shino got 9/10 as well. Ino, Shikamaru and Choji got 8/10. Sakura got 7/10 and Kiba got 6/10. For the last test they returned to the classroom where there on the table were numerous hit-ite. They went from the beginning of the list this time. Sasuke smirked at Naruto when he walked by him, though Naruto just ignored it. Alright Naruto, to pass you need to perform the Kawarimi no Jutsu, Henj no Jutsu, and create at least 3 Bunshin no Jutsu. Iruka said. That's it? Naruto asked. Iruka nodded his head and Naruto sighed. So much for them using the extra 3 years effectively, he thought. He quickly performed the Henj no Jutsu and transformed into the Yondaime, then used Kawarimi no Jutsu to replace with Mizuki, then back again, then finally created 3 Bunshin no Jutsu, and there were now 4 Yondaimes standing there. Iruka, Mizuki, the students, and the others who were watching were shocked at the display. For one, he performed all 3 techniques without hand seals or calling out the name, then he replaced with Mizuki, and to be able to do that the user's chakra would have to overpower the target's chakra. Naruto dispelled the clones and Henj, and Iruka shakily handed him a hit-ite. CC, congratulations, he said. Naruto took it and tied it around his forehead, and with his bangs you could barely see it. He looks even more like the Yondaime now, Iruka thought. Naruto went back up to his seat and sat next to Shikamaru. He, Choji, and to the shock of everyone, Shino congratulated him. He smiled at them and thanked them. Iruka just shook his head and cleared his throat. Congratulations to each of you. You are now ninja of Konohagakure. Remember to serve her with honor. With that he dismissed them and watched as a majority ran out to meet their parents. He watched as Naruto head the other way toward the steps leading to the roof. Back before the tests had begun, Naruto had stopped by the Hokage Tower and added some people to the list he gave Sarutobi of people to summon to his office to watch the tests. They were Hatake Kakashi, Sarutobi Asuma, Yuhi Kurenai, Mitarashi Anko, two of his personal Anbu Neko, Azuki Yugao, and Yamato Tenzo, the clan heads and their spouses, Inuzuka Hana and her nin dogs, as well as Sume's nin dog, Tsubaki, and the Ichirakus. Sarutobi had sent his personal Anbu to summon each one of them to make sure the civilian council or the elders didn't find out. Sarutobi put up a privacy jutsu, cleared his throat and spoke up, "Thank you all for coming on short notice. Yesterday one of Konoha's heroes returned and will be taking the tests as he promised, and he thought that you would all enjoy this year's graduation tests." When he said that, everyone's eyes widened, and the only females that he could see weren't blushing were the wives of the clan heads and Neko, as she had her mask on, but he noticed her fidgeting. He activated his Tomegan no Jutsu, telescope technique, on his crystal ball, and they all started to watch. Everyone was shocked, and all the women, even the married ones, blushed when they first saw him. He looks just like the Yondaime, and he looks just like you, sensei, were some of the thoughts going around. They watched as he caught the Genjutsu Mizuki used, and the Hokage made a mental note to send him to Ibiki later. They saw him get a perfect score on the accuracy test when he hit all 8 vital points at the same time with both kunai and shuriken. Not even Kakashi did that. Then they finally watched as he performed the 3 Academy Jutsu without hand seals or saying the name. Sarutobi ended the technique and leaned back into the chair and watched his guests. He could tell Kakashi wanted to leave right away to see Naruto and the stunned faces on everyone else. Hiyashi spoke up and said, "What now?" Everyone, even Sarutobi, was startled by a voice saying, "First of all, I'm a bit disappointed in the teachings of the academy." That was the same test that students had to take when the graduation age was still 12 for Kami's sake. Anyways, I believe it's time you all learn the truth. They looked behind them and saw Naruto coming out of a shadow. "What do you mean truth?" Hiyashi asked. "The truth of Kyuubi's attack, the truth about my heritage, the truth about where 90% of the world's bloodlines come from, the truth of what Gigi actually looks like now, and the truth of what my life has been like since the moment Kyuubi was sealed in me." Naruto finished. They all raised an eyebrow at the part of what the Hokage actually looks like. Naruto nodded towards the Hokage, and the others watched as a genjutsu came off. There in front of him was a 40-year-old Sarutobi Hiruzen. "Dad, why you're young again?" "How?" Asuma asked. "That is one of the many things that will be explained," Naruto said. He looked at their shocked and confused faces. "Prepare yourself and try not to pass out, as it gets really annoying as I have to pause the jutsu if you do," Naruto said, glaring at the Hokage, who was whistling innocently. He sighed at his Gigi before going through 15 hand seals that was too quick for anyone to see the entire length, and called out Ninpo, Mu Kanran Waza, ninja art, life viewing technique. With that they all watched Naruto's life. They watched the council meeting when Sarutobi brought Naruto, only a few hours old, and denied the civilian council's demands of killing him and Danzo's demands of turning him into a weapon. They saw him getting kicked out of the orphanage on his 4th birthday to living on the streets for 6 months. When they saw the events that happened on his 5th birthday, all the women were in tears, and Makoto was glad some members of her clan were dead. They learned the truth of Orochimaru's and Uchiha Madara's involvement in Kyuubi's attack. Makoto was shocked when she found out about the truth behind bloodlines, and that her clan stole their power from Kyuubi and the results it has caused. They all learned it was Naruto that saved Hinata from the Kumo ambassador, and Makoto the night Itachi massacred the clan. They watched his life as he traveled the world and how he possessed 3 of the 4 legendary summoning contracts. The women finally understood what a Yame meant when they found out about the CRA and his 3rd bloodline. Kakashi was surprised to see Rin and was happy she found someone to love. The political power he held was also astonishing to them. Finally it ended and Naruto immediately created 7 shadow clones to comfort Hana, Tsume, Tsubaki, Anko, Kurenai, Ayame and Yugao while he personally comforted Makoto. All the guys were astounded at how he could handle so many women. He had each one sitting in his lap as he sat on the floor. After a few minutes the women remained in the laps of their clones enjoying feeling their hands running through their hair. Naruto smiled at Makoto and whispered something in her ear. She nodded and he kissed her cheek making her blush and she left his lap. He got up and walked over to Kakashi. I found this while in grass country. When I was in Kiri I had the best swordsmith there to fix it. Naruto said. He opened the scroll and unsealed something Kakashi thought he'd never see again. My father's Hako Chakura to White Light Chakra Saber, Kakashi thought. He grabbed it and could feel his chakra running through it. I thought it was the least I could do for everything you've done for me Aniki. Naruto said. Kakashi's eyes widened and he smiled and said, you never have to thank me for protecting family Ototo. With that he hugged Naruto. The Hokage and the others smiled at the scene. They all spoke for about an hour when Kakashi asked, Hokage-sama, what do you plan to do with Naruto for the teams? Actually Naruto told me that he has a plan for that. Care to share Naruto-kun? Hiruzen asked. Well, I was going to wait until they pass their test from their Junin sensei, but I guess I can tell you now. It's simple really. After Asuma, Aniki, and Kurenai-chan pass their teams we'll all meet up the next day and introduce ourselves. I can join them on any missions that have them leaving the village while I plan to do most of my missions alone. You all know my skills and the only person on par with me is Gigi, so I plan to do missions ranging from D rank for quick cash to S rank. They all nodded at that. When it was over Sarutobi advised them that this was a SSS ranked secret and must not be spoken of again even to each other. They nodded and left the office directly with a Shunshin no Jutsu. Naruto and his clones went with their associated woman and after a passionate make-out session with each girl that even had Tsume losing at his dominance that turned her on, he told them that they'd be seeing a lot more of each other soon. When he received the memory of where Anko lived he quickly remembered something important and after a Shunshin no Jutsu appeared in front of her apartment. He knocked on it and Anko opened it. She had already taken off her coat and he could see more of her sexy body. Anko saw this and smirked. Like what you see Naruto-kun? She was shocked and smiled at his answer as he looked her in her eyes. You are a goddess my hubby Haim. She grabbed him and slammed her lips onto his. After a few minutes of kissing they broke apart. So what did you need Naruto-kun? Anko asked. Naruto grabbed her hand and led her to the couch. He sat her down and took a scroll from his flak jacket and when he unsealed the items he saw the stunned look on her face. That's my mother's necklace. I thought I'd never see it again. Where did you find it? She asked with tears in her eyes. He sat down next to her and said, I found it in a room along with the picture and journal in one of Orochimaru's compounds in Sea Country. I knew I recognized the younger version of you before I left, so I took them with me until I could return them to you. She grabbed him again and kissed him with everything she had. When they broke apart he grabbed the necklace and walked behind her. She lifted her hair and shivered as he kissed and nibbled her neck. He finally fastened the chain around her neck and turned her head back towards him and kissed her. She moaned into the kiss with tears in her eyes. She never thought she would find a man that would love her, but here he was and he's already done the nicest thing anybody's ever done for her and he didn't even know her. Anko Haim, tomorrow we're going to go back to the Hokage Tower. I'll inform the other girls to meet us there. I plan to rid you of that seal once and for all. I've already done it for the others as you saw. Never again will you have to feel dirty wearing that seal. Naruto said with her in his lap. Anko for the first time in her life was honestly happy. He picked her up bridal style and carried her to her room. He stripped her down to her bra and panties and she stripped him down to his boxers and they fell asleep in each other's arms with Anko having the first peaceful sleep in a long time.